Hey everyone, Bethany Siggins here. Thanks for joining me, image consultant and style coach. Today we're going to talk about dressing body shapes. This was a request, and it is important foundational information to dressing your body in a way that respects your shape. And I kind of hear these days how we need some tips on dressing to minimize, to cover up the COVID, whatever, insert your number of weight that we've gained during this time. So this is the first step in looking your best, is respecting the shape that you have. So we have some basic shapes and we're going to talk about those, and I've got some garments here as usual to show you those shapes in real life and the things that you should be looking on or looking towards based on your body shape. So we'll start with the hourglass, and this is not a very common body shape, but basically balanced shoulders to balanced thigh or hip measurement, and then a defined waist. And you can have variations on this. You can have what I call a neat hourglass, which is someone who's not very curvy, or you can have your curvy hourglass. Think about someone like Marilyn Monroe. Her rules are to basically dress to show her shape. So, a dress that has an hourglass shape to it obviously is great for this person. The thing that this person needs to watch out for is too much of your triangular or your rectangular shapes. And because think about it, if you're wearing a rectangle, then we sort of lose the fact that you have this nice defined waistline. So if you like looser fitting tops, you happen to be an hourglass, my advice would be to just do a little front tuck like I've done on this shirt, or belt it, or if you're absolutely set on wearing it out, then maybe just make sure that you're wearing something slim on the bottom. That's my rule, basically 50-50. We need to see your shape either on top or on bottom. Your next shape, which is kind of a common young woman shape, is your pear or your triangle shape. So basically more narrow here and a little bit wider here. Still a defined waist like an hourglass. So what you're going to want to do with this shape is widen the area at the shoulder. You can do that with horizontal stripes. You could do it with a top like I'm wearing right now. We want to keep it simple on bottom for the triangular shape. So a dark jean is great. So play on top and keep it simple on bottom is the basic rule for a triangular person. If you have some fitted tops, the problem with that when you are bigger through the hips and thighs is you're just going to emphasize the fact that you're smaller here. So if you have some fitted tops you enjoy wearing, my advice would be to find some outer pieces that you can layer on top that add a bit of width, and so that you're not seeing so much narrow through the top half of your body. So our next shape, which is also fairly common, is your round or your oval or your apple. We have you hear different names for these shapes. So this person is a bit larger through the center. She may or may not be busty. So if she's busty, sometimes she might see a gap at her shoulder. So believe it or not, a little shoulder pad inserted into her garments can help fill out here to help what's going on here. The thing with the apple that you want to be sure about is that you're allowing the clothing to flow across the body and not cling anywhere. So I would say you would use some flowy tops. Set my paper down here for a second. Sort of the opposite of the triangle that we just saw, the apple can play up the bottom half because they're larger on the top half. So we're going to keep it simple on top and play on bottom with this person. What I would be careful about with the apple shape is not doing anything on bottom that's super skinny. again, like with the triangle, I said don't do anything super skinny here. With the apple, if you do something super skinny here, then you're going to emphasize the fact that you're larger here and not as large or smaller here. So the apple does have fantastic legs. So I would say anytime you have an opportunity to wear a dress, do so. And a taper at the hem is great, ending right under the knee, and just in a fabric that flows very easily over the body. The top that I'm wearing now would be fantastic for an apple. This is going to flow over her midsection. It's not going to cling anywhere. It tapers right here at the hip, and I wanted to show you the length of this top because if you are an apple, I want to make sure that you're making sure your tops, take it to a tailor, get it a little bit tapered here. You're always going to look a little sleeker when the hem of your bottom is tapered, and also not too long. I wouldn't go longer than your leg break. This one might be slightly longer than that, and if you go too long, that is going to shorten your leg and visually shorten you. So I would always recommend that you wear a little bit of a heel if you're wearing a taller top, so that you're creating that height. That's your apple. Your inverted triangle. So this would be sort of your gymnast shape, narrow here, wider here. She could also wear a shift dress that just sort of flows over the body. And what I say with this one, opposite of what I just said with the oval, keep it simple on top, sort of try to narrow this area and play up this area. So the example that I've got here is a little pattern pant and sort of a darker top. This person could be busty. In most cases she is, so an open V neckline is great for this shape. And any kind of dress that is going to flow and go straight is great, but really this stiffer fabric probably isn't going to work as well. This is going to work well for our last shape, which is your rectangle, and this one is actually the hardest shape to try to create that balance. You're just very much equal here, here, and here. So you're trying to look more narrow through the waist, wider here and a bit wider here. So you could look for dresses that keep it nice and dark and maybe dart it in here to create a waistline, and then creating width here and width through the hip. That's great for your rectangle. Something that just sort of flows, has a bit of a waist but isn't going to cling. Sometimes a wrap dress works for this shape, but it kind of depends. There's variations on these shapes, and sometimes certain rectangles have a little bit more through the center, and I wouldn't have you wear anything that clings right there. Lastly, I'd say play up the shoulder with this shape. Try to create something that's going to make the waist look small. So a sharp shoulder, sharp lapel blazer is great for this shape. And so it's not all rules with me, and I like to teach you how to break the rules, but I think it is foundational to understand your shape, to respect your shape, and to dress it as well as possible. Style isn't a size, isn't a number. It is simply you being yourself, respecting the body that you have and dressing it as well as possible. So with that, I really have enjoyed doing these for you, and I look forward to maybe something sort of holiday themed, maybe is what I'm thinking, since we're getting close to that, believe it or not. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me for this one, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.